Alrighty. Just Incredible bringing you a Super Mario RPG tutorial on how to get a lot of flowers on the Booster Hill minigame. So, for those who are familiar with this part of the run, you have to get a lot of flowers, or as many as you can, so you have enough flowers to last you for the rest of the run without having to go out of your way to pick up backup flowers. But I've kind of figured out most of this Booster Hill is actually kind of fixed and not so much RNG dependent. So even if you get sort of bad luck on certain parts of this mini game, you can still get enough flowers to have enough for the rest of the run without having to backtrack for backup flowers. So the first thing I want to do before I start pointing out some things is, well, I'm going to freeze the video here that I've already prepared, and I'm going to freeze it when the Sniffits pop up here. And first thing what we're going to do, this is a very key thing, I'm going to provide you with a little bit of a reference point. Pretend like this is a three-lane highway. So we got Mario here in the center lane, along with Booster and this center Sniffit. So let's just call that lane 2 for all intents and purposes. We're going to call this lane 2. We're going to call the lane to the left lane 3. We're going to call this lane 3, so that corresponds to the Sniffit. And we're going to use the top lane here as lane 1. Now, lane 1, I listed it that way because it's going to be a very important lane later in this tutorial. So, as you see, if you look here at Mario's vantage point, if you trace Mario's vantage point up to right about here, or to where Booster is, you see that if something were to come along, like you're going to see barrels that fall down the hill. If a barrel is falling down this lane, you have much less time to look at it and time your jumps as if a barrel comes down through the top. As you see, there's a lot of room between the edge of the screen and the plane that the barrel will cross Booster or Mario, depending where he's at. So that's a key thing that you want to keep in mind as we get to Phase 3. Or even Phase 2, rather. This Booster Hill minigame is divided into 4 phases. The first phase is at the very start. Only a single barrel will fall down the middle lane. So Mario does not have to move left or right unless Booster is moving left or right. So you can actually touch Peach and grab a flower. So, you're going to have, I think, 8 barrels fall down the middle lane here at the very start, or 7. The very first barrel that comes down, you're going to see it's very easy. There's plenty of time to actually look at the barrel here. Like that. There's plenty of time to look at it and time your jump. So, the first phase of this is going to be all about timing. Now, as you see, you can continue to maintain your momentum with these sets of middle barrels by using an audio timing. Since you really can't look and time it very well, you have to kind of go by an audio cue. So I'm going to back the video up and just listen to when you hear the barrel sound, and then you hear Mario do the jump sound, and then you hear the boing from when he lands on the barrel. It's an audio timing. Right here. Boing. Boing, boing. You hear the barrel sound first, but you don't see the barrel appear immediately. So then you have to use an audio timing to time your jump. So it's almost like a blind jump, per se. Now see, after the very first barrel, it takes 2 more barrel bounces in a row to reach Peach again without having to get extra barrel jumps. So for every odd number barrel that falls, you should get a flower. So the first, third, fifth, and seventh barrels, you should get a flower. Hear the timing? Jump, boing. I'll play that a couple of times. And if booster strafes to the left or right, you have to use left or right to chase him down. But as soon as you do during this phase, you want to get Mario back to the middle lane, because that's only where the barrels will be falling for this first phase. Okay, now here is phase 2, and you're going to hear the music kind of go up an octave. So now at phase 2, you're going to see 2 barrels fall, but it's random where they fall. You could have 2 barrels that fall from lane 1 and lane 2, or lane 2 and lane 3, or lane 1 and lane 3. But a general good rule, since you have more time to look for a barrel from the middle or the top, it's better to just play the odds and kind of hang around the upper part of these 2 lanes than trying to hang down to the bottom here and trying to get a barrel that way. Because if you mistime a barrel, or if you let a barrel hit you, it's going to knock you back, and you're going to lose some ground on booster. Now, as you're there in that example, if the barrels come up to the top here, you have time to look at them, which is really lucky. So if this is the case, you want to position Mario in the middle of these lanes. You don't want him in between, because you can put him there and he can miss the barrel or either barrel if he's just right positioned here, or he can get hit by one or the other when you don't intend to him to be. So as you see, I'm getting barrels on the top here. So I'm using the extra time I've got. Now you can actually wait until you see the barrel if it appears in this top lane here, the lane 1. Once you see it, then you know where to jump. Now that was a fortunate a boost I got from the actual Sniffit and not the barrel. That can happen too. But we're going to backtrack back to the start of this phase. Now also, here's an important thing. If these clouds, they will kind of get in your way sometimes. You just have to kind of see through the cloud and just focus on the barrels so you don't lose your timing or lose your point of reference. Because what will happen is if you let the cloud distract you, you may forget to jump, and you may get hit by a barrel or even a Sniffit if one's trailing after you. So this is still phase 1. I went back to phase 1. So you hear the and then you hear a jump, boing. Now, as you see, a barrel could appear here, but it could appear late. It's whether the barrel appears early, normal, or late will kind of throw you off. But a general rule of thumb, try to use the barrels. Now, at this point, the Sniffits will be coming after you, too. So, if you see an opportunity that a Sniffit could give you a boost, go for it. But make sure that you're in the middle of these lanes if you're going to use a Sniffit to boost you. And also, you still have to strafe left and right to catch booster. So, we're going to go back one more time. But still, every other 2 barrels, if you get good luck, will still get you flowers. So at this point, you still don't need the Sniffits exclusively to get you flowers. You can still get flowers solely on the barrels if your timing is good, and you get some good RNG in this second phase where you have 2 barrels and they're all RNG. Now for this octave, now all 3 barrels will come down in each lane. So at this point, you're always going to see a barrel in this first lane every time. So once you get to this octave and you get to the point where you can take advantage of this, just keep Mario in this top lane, because you're going to have a lot of time to look at this barrel coming, and you can time your jump that way. And I'm only strafing after booster if he goes over here. If he stays up close top here, then that's where I'm staying. So at this point, I don't need these sniffets yet if I can keep this up. Alright. And after this octave starts, now the barrels stop falling completely, and now you have to rely on the sniffets to get you more flowers. But at this point, these sniffets can boost you a lot further than the barrels can. So at this point, now Mario has to strafe along with the sniffets, so you don't get a bad frame that you land on. So you just see, I'm strafing, I'm getting ready to line up. Now, that was an unfortunate clip there, but as you see, now here comes this sniffet. I'm kind of moving back and forth, weaving left and right to make sure I'm lined up. So once Mario gets a good boost, he's going to stay up there, up here at the top for about 2 seconds, and then he's going to drift. So I'm rewinding the video back to about to the start of the final phase. Now, one notable thing, if you can catch a cycle, so if you can catch a Sniffit, like right there, like I used the middle Sniffit there to boost up and hit booster there to get a flower. Sometimes the Sniffits will actually line you up with cycles, and you use the same Sniffit again to keep up. But the cycle isn't completely perfect. You will have to change Sniffits and use that Sniffit as kind of a cycle. Like right there, I use that middle Sniffit, so I'm going to try to use the middle Sniffit again. And see, Booster is falling back just in time to grab another flower. Now that time, I had to use that Sniffit, but see, he's already falling off the screen. So I have to use one of the remaining Sniffits to get another flower. So as you see there, in this video, I got 15, which was really good. You only need about maybe 7 or 8 flowers, but the more the better, because the more flowers you have, the more backup strats you can do for some of the bosses later on. So once again, just use the middle barrel. You have time to actually see it until Mario gets up here, because he's going to run into an invisible wall. And then you have to rely on an audio timing. Boom, boom, jump, boing. That's pretty much the timing. Now see, I've already got Mario, before the next barrel even starts to come down, I've got him set up here just in case a barrel decides to come down and I can use it as a boost. So in that instance, a barrel did show up. And I would like another one. So right there, another barrel, and boom, another flower. And at this point, every time that you touch Peach, Booster's going to knock you back a little bit. So if a Sniffit is close, you're probably not going to be able to boost or use him as a boost. But you wouldn't want to anyway, because whenever Booster grabs or whenever you touch Booster, he's going to march up a little bit, and then he's going to falter back. So if you even got a boost very, very quickly, the boost would die out before Booster would fall back into you. So you wouldn't want to waste a boost like that. So right now I'm still using the barrels because I'm getting good RNG and I don't have to rely on the Sniffits. Now if you do have to rely on the Sniffit, you want to make sure that you're lined up right in front of the Sniffit. You just have to kind of guess it, kind of practice lining yourself up with a sniff it, and then just jumping at the right time. Now, see, I was fortunate right there. I jumped on that barrel even though I was getting knocked back, so it kept me up with booster, and I was able to get another flower off that barrel. So if you play this perfectly, every other barrel should get you a flower unless you miss one by RNG in the second phase or you get knocked back a little bit. So we're going to go over phase 3 and then the final phase. So right here, there's going to be a barrel falling on every lane, but you're going to have more time to look here for this barrel. So I would recommend just sticking up here to the top and then using that extra time to time your jump. And as long as you do this correctly, you don't need to rely on these sniff hits at all. But they're still there as backup if you miss a barrel, so don't discount them completely, but they're just there in case you need them. Now at this point, those are the last set of barrels. Now you have to use the sniff hits, and then they start to swerve left and right. So that's when you have to move along with the sniff hits. Now see, Mario is about to die out from his boost, so you have about 2 seconds that he'll stay up there, and then he's going to fall down. So you kind of want to wait for Booster to start drifting back down towards you before you land on a sniff it to get a boost, preferably. See, like that? That's a good boot. That's a good one. Now that was an early boost, so see, Mario's going to falter before Booster does. See how Booster comes ahead? You have to wait for him to drift before you can touch him again. See, he's going to drift, but see, Mario's going to lose his boost just before that. And that was an unfortunate hit by a sniff it. So there's a touch. He's going to move up, and then you're going to wait for him to drift. Boom. So once you touch Booster, you won't be able to get another flower for about maybe 4 to 5 seconds. So you just have to time it. You just got to practice timing, practice left and right swerves. But other than that, that's pretty much how you can handle getting flowers. So happy hunting and good luck. And with that, I'm going to cut stream.